Hey everybody, welcome to module 8.3. We're going to carry on with a few new things, as you can see on page 506 and 507, like COUNTIF, SUMIF, and AVERAGEIF. And we're also going to take another look at conditional formatting. You may remember that we used conditional formatting in the past to apply icons and symbols and look at the top percentages or the lower percentages or finding certain values. On page 508, we're going to do the same thing, but with duplicate numbers. So you can see I have a whole bunch of numbers here. I'm going to highlight them, go to conditional formatting, highlight cell rules, and I'm going to pick where it says duplicate values. And it's going to say if it finds a number that's a duplicate, so in the range it has a copy, all of these numbers, there's more than 1 1, there's more than 1 3, there's more than 1 4, it will color them. And in this case, let's do yellow. Okay, so any cell that has a duplicate will be colored yellow. Okay, and we could test that like it says, like I'll change this number to a positive 7, and then it will turn it yellow because we already have a 7 down here. Okay, so as we talked about before, there's a rules manager for conditional formatting. Let's take a look at that right now. And this is on page 510, 511, and forward. Okay, so we'll go to where it says Manage Rules, and we could take a look at the rules that are in place right now. So we have Show Formatting Rules for current section. We could also change it to this worksheet. Depends if we're clicked on it or not. And it says we have duplicate values. We want to format it yellow with, this kind of text. It applies to this range, which is our range, and we have stop if true. You remember that we talked about stop if true before. If I have a number of formatting rules, they won't keep on being applied all the way to the end. They'll stop at some point and only shows certain kinds of formatting for certain cells. We could also go to edit rule, and we could format how we want the text to look. So for example, we could make it, let's make it dark blue on a white background. We could change the border. We could change the fill. Okay, and we could change the type of cell too, but we'll leave that for now. We'll press OK. So any cell that meets our format basically is a duplicate will look like this. We press OK, and we press OK again, and then there we go. Doesn't actually look very good, nor does it help us summarize the data, but the point is that you're able to customize that to really make some of the numbers stand out, as well as control not only which conditional formatting rules are being applied, but in what order, because they might not necessarily overlap, right? So that's very important to know and be able to control which ones are being applied. Let's just make a couple small changes, see if this looks a little better. Okay, and we just have to play around with it and figure out what works the best and what looks good. Okay, so let's get rid of this. And I just want to work through the box with you on page 513 because this is really important. And I'm going to just get rid of the entire sheet. So I'm back to normal. Okay, so now I'm going to highlight everything again, go to conditional formatting, press where it says new rule, and we're going to use this one. Use a formula to determine which cells to format. And it says format values where this formula is in use. Okay, so I'll press on the button, and we'll pick 1, for example, and we'll say where 1 is less than 5. So if it's less than 5, then it should format it, and we'll make it red. Press OK. The entire thing turns red. Let's check that again. All right, I see what I did here. So basically, in the formula, I highlighted everything, and I said, okay, let's apply this formula equals 1 is smaller than 5. Now, 1 is smaller than 5, so because this cell returns a value of true, everything else is also considered true and gets formatted, right? If we use a different formula, like for example, we use if or we use something else, then we'll be able to make a determination based on each cell. But as it is right now, using this formula, it will color absolutely everything. Okay, so we want to make sure that we put in the right formula and it's organized properly so only the right cells get picked. But that's how we make a conditional formatting using a formula. Okay, so let's carry on with count if, and first we'll use count. So I'm going to type in equals count, and I'll put in the whole range. I hit enter and I get 325. As you may have seen from previous examples, if we only want to count some of them, we could type in count if, and we'll grab the same range. Oops. Okay, but in this case, we'll put in a comma, and we'll only count the 3's. Okay, and then it's going to say there's all the 3's added together are 27. Okay, and we could use the same thing with a word. We could use the same thing with a formula, as you could see in figure 839 on page 514. Okay, so first we did count, which basically counts how many numbers there are. We also talked about count A, which would count how many things there are, whether it's numbers or words, etc. And next we're going to look at sum. So you already know that if we type in equals sum, and we grab our whole range, in this case we're going to get all the numbers added together is negative 4377. Okay, we could also say count if, sum if. Sum if, and we'll put in a bracket, and I'm just going to hit insert function. So it tells us that there's 3 parts. The first is the range. Where do we want to calculate? And we'll grab the entire range. Okay, next is the criteria. So we're going to tell it that we only want it to count numbers that are above 10. So that's going to eliminate all the negative numbers. It's also going to eliminate anything that's smaller than 10. We press OK, and all those numbers added together is 747, only the 10s and above. So in the example in the textbook, it says, for example, if you wanted to add all salaries over 50,000, this is how you would do it, because it would look through all the numbers first. It would find ones that are only a certain size, and then it would add those together. Okay, so we could change this to 20, and it would only add together the numbers that are 20. There are no numbers over 20, so it just gives us 0. Okay, we could do the same thing with any combination of numbers, and it would create that cutoff point where it would add them all together from the whole table that meets the criteria. Okay, you've also seen the formula average in the past. Okay, so average will take all the numbers and find the average of them. So in this case, it's negative 13. But if we only want to average numbers above 10, we would type in equals average if. The range, we'll pick our entire range. And then we'll say the criteria is greater than 10. Let's see what we did wrong. Greater than 10. Okay, and here we get 12.46 is the average of the numbers that are greater than 10. Okay, so this cuts it off, and oh, it had to be in brackets. That was the problem. But if you do have a problem with the formula, the first step is always to click on insert function, see what the parts are, and then read what exactly it wants in order to do that. Okay, so we have a third part called average range, which we haven't used for any of these yet. They all work the same way. And it says that these are the actual cells that are used to find an average. If omitted, the range is used. So that's what we want. We want to go through the whole range, match the criteria, and come back and say OK what the number is. All right, so these 3 functions are relatively straightforward. We've dealt with other versions of them before. So here we have count and countif, sum and sumif, and this was average and averageif, right? So basically, it does the same thing, except it gives a criteria for what we're looking for. We could put in a formula, we could match it to a number, we could say greater than a certain number, etc. Okay, so I hope that was relatively straightforward. That brings us to the end of Module 8, and in Module 9, we're going to be looking at financial tools and new formulas to calculate different things, very similar to what we did with car loan payments. We're just going to look at a bunch more of them. Have a great day.